Yo, welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Like, subscribe, review, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend. Very strange that we just saw, and kind of a news on a Wednesday for everyone to see, talking about family and how they feud and how money ultimately ruins us all. But first, we have to talk about the national championship game. Yes, unfortunately, when this podcast came out, we were unable to talk about this because I was not staying up to midnight to talk to you guys on the podcast because I still have a job. But we need to talk about Curt Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers defeating the Miami Hurricane, covering. Very surprised that Miami was giving 7.5 on essentially in a road game against the Hurricanes, who played very well. But the Indiana Hoosiers are now the national champions, and a lot of people have coined this phrase, like, what is this? What is this? We do this big topics of everything. And I think what it shows you, right? I think the biggest takeaway that I have is something that I truly, truly at my core believe in life, right? As someone who's trying to do this pod from scratch, just get it out of, get out the mud, essentially. I do believe that anything can be possible, right? I truly think that if you put in work, make right connections, keep the main thing, anything is possible. And while Curt Cignetti, I would say, came in at the right time, a lot of times some things in life are timing. The fact that he was able to take the worst franchise in sports history, in college sports history, and got them to a national championship, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened in North American sports. It's the greatest thing that ever happened in terms of nothing internationally. I mean, there's nothing even on any other professional level that comes close to this, because in the pros, the talent level is theoretically the same, right? Like, while there's gradients to everyone, right? Like LeBron, for most of his career, is better than, the worst player on the Hornets bench, right? Both of them are still professional athletes. Versus when you go to college, there are guys who might not deserve to be on the same field as other guys. And that's why it's always hard for college, in the sense of like, who's really good, who's not really good. It's so difficult to see because there could just be these giant gaps in talent. But for Curt Cignetti to take over an organization, a program that was, and I'm going to read this stat, prior to him going there, was 508 and 691, with 38 ties in between there before Curt Cignetti got there. Before Curt Cignetti got there, they had played against top 10 teams 73 times. They played top 10 teams 73 times prior to Curt Cignetti there. They beat those teams 7 times. 7. Okay? He is, I mean, to me, just this alone already puts him in the College Football Hall of Fame. I don't care what he does the rest of his career. He has to be in there, because this is more of a landmark moment in college football than really, I mean, this might be a big take. A lot of these things, even the integration of schools go anything, it has to be integration, because he took the worst team and made them the best. Because the way that this is now going to reshape college football is good and bad, in the sense of, A, now no one has an excuse to not try and say we can win the national championship. Mississippi State can say we can win the national championship. Washington State can say we can win the national championship, right? It has now created a pathway for so many more teams to believe that they have an actual realistic shot to win the national championship. But on the other side, it's going to now make fans even more delusional to think that they can win the national championship. I mean, what Curt Cignetti is doing is not rare, because there is money behind him. And I don't feel like, and that part needs to be highlighted, that there are, he has the money to do these things, right? But once again, like everything in life, just because you have the money to do it doesn't mean you're getting the right players, doesn't mean you're getting the right personnel. And also, you still have to convince these guys to stay and play. I mean, we just saw Oregon had 2 running backs that were in the playoffs leave during their run, and they had a third who was going to leave but decided to play in the game until they were done. So the game already is just I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's just different now. And this to me is mind blowing that he was able to do this, and really just needs to highlight the fact that they never trailed in any of these playoff games, right? I said this before on the last pod, was it's rare that the Cinderella story was the favorite. When's the last time you remember a Cinderella story, right? I think it would have been a great year, and Indiana went so far, but there would have been a bad taste, I think, in a lot of Indiana Hoosier fans' mouths. They lost that game because of how their season had gone, and the fact that they had pretty much dominated everyone in the playoff prior to getting to Miami. And I think for Curt Cignetti and Fernando Mendoza, this is definitely one of the greatest college football seasons of all time. I don't think this is going to be considered one of the greatest college football teams of all time. For me, I did not see the 2001 Miami Hurricanes play. To me, the 2019-2020 Joe Burrow-led LSU Tigers is the greatest collection of talent that we will see. Now, we don't know. A lot of these guys are older players. I think a lot of these guys will get drafted. We'll see if they can become stars on the next level. I highly doubt it. But this has been something that I think no one thought was even possible. Even when they went, did all their winning last season, the idea that they were able to come back this year and actually, win the whole thing and have a Heisman Trophy winner on their team is truly outstanding. There's only been a handful of guys to be able to win the Heisman Trophy and win the national championship, I believe, in that have an undefeated season. I know Burrow did it, Cam did it, Jameis Winston did it, Devon Smith did it, Derrick Henry was able to do it as well, and Matt Leinart, I believe. Oh, I got them all right. Those are all the guys who were able to have an undefeated season, win the Heisman Trophy, and win the national championship. And now Mendoza joins that list. So credit to Indiana. A truly remarkable season and a great college football season. As it always is, it's never clean. It's never straightforward. It's messy all the way around. But this is why we're here for Love It. Speaking of mess, and speaking of how just the ties keep turning, Sean McDermott was let go by the Buffalo Bills, and they had their press conference. For those of you who don't know, Terry Pegula is the owner of the Buffalo Bills. And yes, that is the father of the Pegula, who is Jessica. Sorry, I almost forgot her name for a sec. Who is, yes, that is the tennis player. That is her father, who is owns the team. I mean, listen, I like Keon Coleman coming out of school. I would not say he is a guy I like coming out of school. I don't know that man like that. But if I was a family member, I might want to throw hands on that owner, because that press conference was one of the oddest ones I listened to. If you have the time, it's under an hour, please go listen to it. First thing that came out was basically that Terry Pegula is like, this is collaborative, but I run the show. Essentially, he, I think, put Brandon Beane in a very odd spot, because essentially they were talking about the fact that they didn't have a true number one wide receiver for the last couple seasons. And there were reports that Brandon Beane was trying to essentially give the Miami Dolphins a first-round pick this year to get Jaden Waddle. And there was a little bit of back and forth from that, because a lot of people thought that Keon Coleman would step up and be that guy. And then Brandon Beane essentially took a shot at Sean McDermott, saying that the coaching staff wants to draft him. And it was the coaching staff's fault, and it wasn't him. Now, listen, I'm in a lot of group chats, and this man really should just embrace this and call himself Keon Cookie Coleman, because of that Cam Newton clip that a lot of people have seen. But it is not all Keon Coleman's fault that this team didn't make the playoffs. Didn't advance in the playoffs. It was your quarterback. Now, I'm not saying that you had to keep the coach. The owner actually agreed with me, who's saying that he basically made the decision once they lost the Denver game. And part of it's a little confusing, because he said, I made the decision after the Denver game, but then he said that it was a catch. So if you thought it was a catch and you thought it was Rob, then why are you firing the coach? all of this is to go along to say is for anyone who keeps trying to listen and tell you that, no, we have this GM and they're running the whole thing and, this president of basketball operations, the whole thing. These owners run this thing, okay? Whether how much they put themselves involved, how little they put themselves involved, that's everyone's guess, right? But at the end of the day, they own the team and they run the team. And they're the ones who are the final decision makers. So anytime you're always like, we just need to fire the coach, or we just need to fire the GM, or we just need to draft this player, it is the owner. They are there forever, okay? Until they don't want to own anymore, they are going to own. And this is why I think the Buffalo Bills are in this very odd spot, because another thing they tried to say was, well, we need to get Josh Allen to the Super Bowl. We need to get him to the Super Bowl. But then there isn't the pressure to get to the Super Bowl with this first-year coach. I would wish owners and GMs would stop lying to us and stop pretending like we don't know what it was. You fired the coach because he didn't get to the Super Bowl. That's what it was, okay? You fired the coach because you didn't think he was good enough to get you to win a championship. And the next coach, I guarantee you, if you don't make the championship or win the Super Bowl next year, they will be pissed, okay? They will not be, great season. Maybe if you get to the Super Bowl and then lose in a very, unfamiliar way, or not unfamiliar, but just in a, you lose in a respectful way. Maybe you lost to a better team or whatever, something happens. But it's Buffalo. They would have then have lost 5 Super Bowls in a row, okay? The only thing that they can do that I think fans would be acceptable with is to win the Super Bowl. And I am not exactly sure who the coach is going to be. Right now, the reports are going to be that it's going to be Brian Daboll potentially, but then the owner, Brian Beane said that there's no front runner for this list, so maybe there's more people that they have that we haven't even seen yet. But Buffalo is in a very precarious position because they are right there in the middle towards the tail end of Josh Allen's prime, and they're paying him a lot of money. And so drafting is going to be very, very important. However, if you look at Brandon Beane's draft history over the last couple of seasons, it's not great. Side of Allen, they've only drafted 2 guys who have made the Pro Bowl. 2 out of 56. That could be somewhat fluky, I would say, because you can look at a team like the Ravens, who I think every year, outside of probably this year, has had anywhere between 6 and 8 Pro Bowlers, and they haven't gotten to the Super Bowl either, right? So I don't necessarily think being a Pro Bowler is the end-all, be-all of having a good team, but it sure does help to have a lot of them. So they are going to be one of the most fascinating teams to watch, not just next season, but going forward, because I just wonder if at some point you just get broken. There's so many heartbreaks. And this game in particular, when they lost against Denver, in a game, frankly, I'm not saying they shouldn't have won the game, but they weren't favored to go in, and playing on the road where I don't think your team was as good as Denver's. Your quarterback was obviously better. Maybe they play better than Bo Nix in that game, but I think overall people would take Josh Allen over Bo Nix. Was okay. They didn't have this outstanding season, but now the pressure just gets ramped back up because you figured Mahomes is going to come back. You think Lamar's going to come back from a new coach. Burrow, we'll see if they're able to get the Bengals going. Like, it is going to be even tougher for them to get back there. And I really want to know, as much as we want to put on Josh Allen, is he just the guy who's not going to win and get to one? There's been plenty of really good quarterbacks who never got to the Super Bowl. Plenty of them. And he just might not be that guy. And the second part about all this, which is sad, is, as someone I personally, full disclosure, like Josh Allen. I think he's a great player. I think he looks like the best quarterback in the league. But y'all gotta stop babying this man. This is a grown-ass man, okay? So all the media people who are just flaunting over, oh, this is so sad, you feel so bad for him. I would feel bad if he had, like when he had that 13 seconds game, it's like, okay, I did enough to win the game and I lost. That's where you feel bad. But 2 things. 1, you're in the media. you should not feel bad. And number two is he played like shit. He didn't play well. And so it's hard for me to drum up this level of emotion for a guy who's got 200 million in the bank easily, has a beautiful wife, is about to have a child. He has a great life, okay? The people who hate Josh Allen live in here. You know what you can always do with this? Turn this off, all right? You don't have to listen to these people. They're not going to make you play any better or any worse. It's you versus the people against the defenses on the field, all right? So we got to stop pretending that this man is a make-a-wish kid and he's just so happy that he can be here. Lastly, for you guys, still family feuding. There's another story that you want to see. Baxter Holmes, probably one of the very few reporters left at ESPN, dropped a lengthy article talking mostly about the Buss family. For those who don't know, the Buss family is a family who formerly owned the Los Angeles Lakers, bought by Dr. Buss. 4 kids. I didn't even realize he had 4 kids. 4 kids, including Jeannie Buss. They have sold the team over to Mark Walter, who owns the Dodgers, who now will own the Lakers, I believe, starting next season. And the article is a fascinating kind of point about money and really how money really, I think, destroys families. One of my favorite shows on ever of all time is Succession. I highly recommend people to watch that show because you can see just how these second generation owners kind of work. You know, a lot of this stuff is too many cooks in the kitchen, too many people kind of going back and forth, and ultimately, like in Succession, they sold the company. These same people gotta sell the company. Before we even get into the LeBron stuff, which was fascinating at that point, is just from the business aspect of it is, I think that because of how capitalism has grown and just exploded, right? How much money these teams are, how much money it takes to not just own these teams, but to run these teams. People like the Busses, they couldn't own the Lakers anymore. They just couldn't because how they made their money and their millions was from the Lakers. But if you look at all these other guys, the Steve Ballmers of the world, you know, they make their money so much away from basketball that they can still splurge on it. The Steve Collins is as well for the Mets. That the Lakers just couldn't keep up with the Joneses. I mean, don't forget, the Lakers took out a PPP loan back during the pandemic and got flamed for it and had to give it back. Okay? Like, this team does not make the kind of money that I think a lot of people make. People believe that they made. And ultimately, they just couldn't keep up and had to sell. And the tie-in that I see a lot with this is with another legacy team franchise who's with one family in the Yankees. I do think as much as the Yankees have made their much money and they've won all these championships and all this other stuff, I do ultimately believe that they will sell the team going forward. Maybe not right now, but definitely I can see that happening within the decade of them selling the team because they're in the same position as the Buss family is. Their father bought the team on a super cheap. It exploded in value. These guys are now super rich, but it's now makes so much money that it's almost an Ouroboros. It eats itself, right? And so you've heard people in the New York area, they've had Hal Steinberger, who's the controlling owner, basically saying that we are not a profitable business. Ha! Okay, bro. Not going to get too many people to believe that, number one. And number two is the fact that they essentially have a self-imposed cap. And they are, I believe, one of the only people who are going to be pushing, I should say only, one of the leaders in the clubhouse pushing to have a salary cap. Because they can't keep up with these salaries. They just can't. They showed you. They've let guys walk due to money. And that's never happened. You know, I said this before that there was never a player that was on the Yankees that I'd ever seen that the Yankees wanted that left the Yankees. Never. The first guy to ever do it was Soto for money, strictly money. And it's showing you that even with amongst the billionaires, there's levels to this. And to tie it back to, you know, the Lakers' relationship with LeBron, it has just been such an odd pairing ever since he got to LA. Now, again, to shoot LeBron some bail, right? They had no plan after Kobe. None. Not there, wasn't there. They were having some of the worst years of their history. The last couple of years of Kobe and the couple of years before they got to LeBron, right? And there was no sight to be seen. I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge, who was a good player, might make the Hall of Fame, turned the Lakers down to go to San Antonio. An NBA player in free agency, not for more money, said no to going to the Lakers to go to San Antonio, Texas. That's when you knew the franchise was at its lowest, okay? So LeBron was able to come in, reestablish the brand, got them to a championship, and has been able to keep them afloat ever since, right? He's going to be there. This is his year 7 season with the team. But they clearly don't seem to really love him the way they loved Kobe. And there's always going to be Lakers fans who just, because Kobe, he just won so many more rings. That's not even really what I'm going with. I don't think anyone thought, let me take it back. I don't think any rational thought that when LeBron was going to come, they were going to win, 4 or 5 championships. But it's not the fact that they haven't won these many championships. It's the fact that they have had such up and down years, right? They have been eliminated in round 1 as more times they've won the championship. They have been eliminated in round 1 more times than they've gotten to the Western Conference Finals. It has been either that championship year, first round exit, missing the playoffs, Western Conference Finals, first round exit. Like, it would have been one thing if they had this kind of like stable level of success, maybe second round, get to the championship, maybe lose it, win the championship like that. But it just hasn't been that same level of success. And you get what you always get with LeBron teams, all this more drama. And now you have his agent basically want to trade both Luka and Austin Reeves to keep him on the team, which is just stupid. You have them drafting his son, which people who want to defend that move want to be like, no, he's a good player. We should let him go. When the owner said we gave you a bone. We all know this guy wasn't a very good basketball player. Okay. And I think the thing about sports fans is, as passionate as they are, as we are, right? I am also a sports fan. These people are not dumb. Okay. And people watch the games and people understand the games. And at the end of the day, the thing that I love about sports so much is no matter how much you talk about, oh, this guy is robbing me, or it's politics or everything like that, the ultimate thing is to win or to lose. And when you get on that court, if you ball in, they can't take you off the court. They just can't, because your production equals for their job security. And you know what people don't like to do? People don't like getting fired. And having the wherewithal to understand that we are literally just drafting Bronny James because of our player on the team, or our best player on the team at the time, feeling okay with it, was a decision that they decided to make for themselves. And I'm not sitting up here saying that NBA teams do not do favors for players all the time. A classic example I remember is when J.R. Smith was on the New York Knicks, they had Chris Smith on the team. He was not an NBA player, but he was able to sit on the bench and collect a check because he was J.R. Smith's brother. A more extreme example is the Antetokounmpo brothers are still in the league, and I still don't know if either one of them is actually very good. The thing about it, though, is especially because the way the Lakers are with how much money they don't necessarily have, and before they got their new owner, number one. But number two is, I'm not saying that the 55th pick would have turned into anything outstanding, right? This is not a criticism on that. But because of the way the salary cap is and how tight it is, you need, if you want to be a championship team, to find wins amongst the edges. There are so many guys in the league right now who are either second round picks or undrafted players who are contributing to winning, right? You have some Hall of Famers in Draymond Green. You have some all-NBA caliber players and like a Jalen Brunson. And then you just have guys like Austin Reeves, who's a very, very good player that you weren't paying anything to. So I'm sorry that it's going to come across that it's like, oh, Bronny's the reason for all this problem. Bronny's a grown man. He's in the NBA. Everyone playing in the NBA is someone's son. It's not just LeBron's kid. Okay? Like, these people are going to get criticized because of the money they make. That's part of the rules of the engagement. So this thing is clearly ending soon. I don't think I'm saying anything outlandish. This is going to be LeBron James' last year in for the Lakers. I don't know if he's going to go where after that. He's not going to play for the Lakers anymore. In this article, Jeannie Buss even said that they contemplated trading him to the Clippers. That's how bad it got between those two. And so maybe Mark Walters will make a different decision. Maybe there's something that happens late in the playoffs that will change their mind. But this very much seems like what I said before. The Lakers are on a LeBron James retirement tour without actually realizing they're on a LeBron James retirement tour. All right, you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Men Who Cry podcast. Again, like, subscribe, review, tell a friend and tell a friend, tell a friend. We'll be back with you guys next week, hopefully with a new guest. And we'll be talking more things sports. All right, everyone. Peace out. Have a good rest of your day.